Morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, sir, for being here. I want to pick up on some of the coronavirus questions. So what industries do you expect are going to be hardest hit?
I think at this point, it's clear that the travel industry in particular is going to be the hardest hit. That what we're seeing is that similar to after 9/11, there was a big impact on airline travel. Unlike a recession where airlines lower the price of tickets and more people fly, this obviously we just have a complete decrease in volume. So as I said earlier, there may be needs to come back to Congress like we did after September 11th. And again, I don't want to, this is not a bailout. This is considering providing certain things for certain industries. So I would say travel, airlines, hotels, cruise lines, I believe are the areas that are impacted. But again, our focus is also on small and medium-sized businesses that are particularly associated with these industries. There are many industries that will go on fine. Many industries can telecommute very easily. Many areas of the country still don't have cases or have very few cases. So again, this is something we're going to have to look at very specifically.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, if I'm repeating some questions that were asked, but what are some of the ideas that you're circulating in terms to help these industries?
Right now, our focus, and again, I would kind of, say this is the first and second inning. Right now, we are working with Congress on making sure that we can reimburse workers who have to be home on sick leave, okay? For many times, they're quarantined for 2 weeks. They may or may not even be sick. They may have been in contact with someone who's sick.
So excuse me, just to reclaim. So that would be something like paid family leave. That is something, I'm assuming that's something, I know I've heard the president mention. Is that something that's on your list of?
It is, and I've spoken to the president and the speaker and others about that, and that's what's being worked on immediately.
And what would be the form of the payment in the plan that you're working on? Where would the money come from?
Well, the money would come from the federal government. We're actively looking at how we disperse it. There's alternative mechanisms that we're exploring how we can most effectively. But this would be the federal government reimbursing companies so that they could pay the workers, and whether the money goes direct to the workers or the money goes to the companies to the workers, we're figuring out the most efficient way.
Well, let's just make sure that, first of all, I think this is a good thing to be looking at paid family leave. I just want to make sure that the workers actually get it, which gets me to the next. There had been some talk about a payroll tax cut, and I had a question relative to that, because I think, this sounds sort of, well, let me just ask a question. A payroll tax cut could actually encourage someone who is sick to come to work.
No, I don't see that it's the case at all.
I mean, okay, let me ask the question a different way, because I want to be fair here. What do you think a payroll tax cut would do in this environment?
Okay, there's two ways of dealing with the issue. One is dealing with very specific issues, as I've just said. A person is in home quarantine, they're not even sick, they're in home quarantine because they randomly came in contact with someone, they work for a small business, they don't get covered. We think those people should be covered. That is very direct. So they're
covered by what?
The federal government should make sure those people get paid for those 2 weeks.
Okay, that's okay.
So there are some very specific
I could agree with that.
things. Okay, as it relates to, there are other issues where the entire economy is slowing down. Again, only because, not because of a specific issue that anybody's sick, because every company in the U.S. right now is stopping travel, stopping meetings, and everything else. That has impacts on restaurants, hotels, everything.
I understand that, but let's get to the payroll tax cut. How would that help?
The payroll tax cut is a stimulus mechanism of putting money into the economy.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's by puts money into the individual workers' pockets. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if I'm just putting this out there and asking this question. Do you have to come to work or not? Do you have to come to work to earn the money for the payroll tax cut, or are you thinking of a scheme where you were going to get that money regardless of whether you come to work?
I don't like the word scheme, program.
Program.
Again, let me just say there's two different things, and I want to emphasize this, and it's an important issue to understand,
Yes,
so
okay.
I want to emphasize this.
Thank you.
One is there are people who we are encouraging not to come to work, okay? Because based upon state guidance and CDC guidance, those people should be in self-quarantine, okay? We don't want to penalize those people from not getting paid if their company is not covering it.
Correct.
JP Morgan and the big banks are covering it. We don't need to
So you want to
reimburse
give them some money back, and what, Madam, I'm sorry to keep, if I could
I
just
want to
get
make sure that those hardworking Americans get paid for the 2 weeks.
And how will that
they're home.
happen? What are the ideas for that?
I've just said to you, there's two ways of distributing the money. One is directly to that person in the form of a debit card or a direct deposit. The other is making sure that the companies continue to make those payments and that the company will be reimbursed. The only difference is we're just trying to figure out very quickly, mechanically, how we can do it. It's
Okay, but that's not a
philosophical issue.
payroll tax cut.
That's not. The payroll tax cut has nothing to do with whether you're home sick. The payroll tax cut is money. It's an efficient way of getting money to all the hardworking Americans.
But you have to come to work to earn that money, correct?
Let me be clear, okay? If you're home because you're in a sick situation, you would get that money as well. That money would go, that money goes to everybody across the board to stimulate the economy. So it doesn't in any way encourage you have to work or you don't have to work. It's completely independent.
All right, yeah, I think I've used up my time. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.